So today I'm going to show you how to create a neater edge along a neckline or armhole when you're picking up stitches by crocheting slip stitches around that edge before you pick up your stitches to knit. So you are going to need your yarn. I'm using a contrast color here just so you can see what I'm doing better, but of course you can use the same yarn as your main piece. And you're going to want a crochet hook that is about the same size as the needle you used for your knitting, or a little smaller. So to start, I'm going to start up here at this vertical edge. I like to start either at a vertical or horizontal. It's a little hard to start in these middle diagonal sections, so we're going to start up here at this vertical. So what you're going to do is you're going to just insert your crochet hook behind that first stitch, kind of like where you would insert your needle for a mattress stitch if you were seaming two pieces together. So you're going to insert your hook from the right side to the wrong side. And then you're going to take your yarn, and you want to leave a little bit of a tail for weaving in. And then you are just going to hook it around your crochet hook and pull a loop through your knitting. And so now you can see I have a loop in the front of my knitting on the right side, and then both the tail and the working yarn are poking through on the wrong side. So I'm going to tighten my loop down a little bit. You don't want it to be too tight or you won't be able to pick up the stitches, but you do want it to be neat. So I'm going to tighten it a little bit, and then I'm going to insert my hook down into the next stitch. Take my working yarn, be careful that you're not grabbing the tail. Take your working yarn, wrap it around the hook, and pull it up through the knitting. So you now have two loops on your hook, and you're going to pull that loop through your first loop. So you can see you now have a little slip stitch on the front of your work, as well as another loop on your crochet hook. So I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to go down into the next stitch, wrap my working yarn around my hook, pull it up through the knitting. You want to make sure you don't split your stitch though. And then pull it through that first loop. And you're just going to continue making slip stitches all the way around. It's fairly straightforward on the verticals. It can get a little tricky to figure out where to put your hook on the diagonal here, so I am going to show you some tips when we get there. Okay, so now we're getting to the diagonal, where you can see we've got our increases from our M1Rs and M1Ls. Those create an extra little bar. And what you want to do is you don't want this seam to be too bulky on the inside. So you're going to want to go closer to the edge if you can. So for this one, I'm just going to go down into the next stitch. And then here you can see there's that bar from our increase. You want to go closer to the edge. Wrap, pull through, and pull through. And you want to do the same on the next stitch. You want to go closer to the edge behind that bar. And you're going to continue along the diagonal, and then I'll show you what to do when we get to this horizontal section. So we're now at our horizontal section, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go right into the center of those V's. You see we've got our little V right here. You're going to want to go right into the center of that, loop your yarn, pull it through, and on the next V as well. Into the center, loop your yarn, pull it through, pull it through. Okay, so now we've come to the end. So of course, for a real neckline or armhole, this is going to be completely around in a circle. So you are going to want to go all the way back around to the beginning, and you're going to want to go up through the center of that first slip stitch that you made. Create your loop, pull it through, and then secure it. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to secure it here. So I'm going to cut the yarn. And if you don't want to cut the yarn, you can actually just use the tail, because your tail will be over back where you started. You can use the tail to secure your yarn. Secure that stitch. Okay, so now we have our crochet edge. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle and we're going to start picking up along this edge. And what you want to do is you just want to pick up the edge, the leg of the crochet stitch that's closer to the edge of your knitting. And I find it's actually easier to pick it up from the back, which means you will have to knit through the back loop when you're going around. But I like to just pick up all my stitches first and then start knitting. So pick up first stitch, second stitch, third stitch, and you just go around like that until you've picked up all your stitches. Okay, so now we have picked up all of our stitches and we can begin knitting. And remember, you'll want to work through the back loop when you start working. And you'll be able to see that these legs of the crochet stitches along the body of your knitting, those are going to create a nice clean edge instead of a sort of twisted edge that you get from picking up stitches directly into the fabric and knitting from those. This gives you just a nice clean edge, and I will show you some photos of some finished objects with that clean edge.